Welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan Lugo. Thanks so much for tuning in here on Monday, January 29th. Got to watch some conference championship football yesterday. The Jaguars, of course, were sadly not a part of that, not a part of the playoffs in 2023. So we're going to take a look at what the Jaguars need to do as an organization, in my opinion, to potentially reach a conference championship, to potentially reach the big game, the Super Bowl, right? I think a lot needs to happen. I don't know that all of it will happen, but we're going to talk about what I see in some of these organizations that made the conference championship, that made the Super Bowl, that I do not see in Jacksonville. We'll get into that here today. Really appreciate y'all tuning in. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out genjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear like the hat I'm wearing right now. Really appreciate y'all. So, the Jaguars. I think it starts with ownership, obviously, but you're not getting a new owner. But they need a new GM. They need a new person at the top of the organization from a football perspective that has a much better plan, right? I think they need a GM who does not deflect blame. I think that they need a GM who cultivates relationships instead of burning bridges. A GM who has a keen eye for roster building instead of drafting 4 linebackers over the last couple of years, signing another one to a huge deal, off-ball linebackers, instead of, foregoing the opportunity to improve on some areas that you've doubled down on, right? I think you need a better eye for talent overall as well. Maybe you need someone who's like an EVP type at the top of the organization that they talked about last offseason that didn't happen. But you definitely need a new GM. I think you need a GM and a head coach that have the same vision, that have a good relationship. And I don't think you have that right now at all. I think it mostly goes back to that general manager position that we've talked about so much here on the channel and, of course, over on Twitter, whatever other social platforms you're on. I'm sure you've been talking about it. But yeah, I don't think the Jaguars have the right GM in place. I think that's pretty clear. The Jaguars need their coaches to be better than they were in 2023 in a big way. You heard all about and you see these defensive communication breakdowns from the Jaguars down the stretch. Ryan Nielsen and company, this new defensive staff for the most part, they've got to hit the ground running. I mean, when it comes to assignment sound football, when it comes to these players knowing their job, knowing how to execute their job and getting the job done, they need to be much better in that regard. You need better offensive coaching too, in a big way. The offensive line underperformed based on talent. And they shouldn't have been a good offensive line, but they should have been average adjacent. They were awful. You need better interior offensive line talent. Go fix it, right? You need someone who, when you throw the football to on the outside in these big moments, they're going to come down with it consistently. Someone with a big catch radius who's tough and has tough hands, good hands, strong hands. Someone who's not going to drop the football. And you need a running game that can be effective in short yardage, in big moments. I think that mostly goes back to offensive line play. Who built the offensive line? The general manager. As a group, I think the pass catchers, you can't let the ball hit the ground as much as you have over the last couple years, especially in 2023. Defensively, you need to be more physical, more aggressive, smarter, and a lot of that's going to go back to the coaching. But you also need better trench play, right? The Jaguars got bullied down the stretch on the interior of their defensive line, and they need better edge play as well, beyond Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker. Like, this is a league in 2023 where you have to have more than 2 edge players. And the Jaguars don't right now. Not more than 2 that can get the job done. And of course, we talked about that in the GM's press conference last week. We had somebody in the building. Yeah, you let him go out the building. And he ended up making it all the way to the conference championship. Jadeveon Clowney. You also do need better injury luck. I mean, there's no doubt about that for me. Like, teams that make it all the way to the Super Bowl, all the way to the conference championship, they usually do have some amount of injury luck. The Jaguars did not have that this year. When you talk about Christian Kirk getting injured and missing the most critical games of the season, you talk about Cam Robinson with the suspension and then injury, missing a lot of this season. You talk about the revolving door at left guard. I mean, my goodness. It was rare to have the same starting left guard week to week. You talk about some of the injuries that took place on this roster. It was rough defensively. Tyson Campbell, who is your most talented corner by a long shot, he was injured this year. When he tried to come back from injury, he did not look like the same player. Andre Cisco, same thing kind of, right? He was playing really well to start the year, looking like a Pro Bowl caliber player, gets injured, misses some time, fights through it, tries to come back. Not quite the same player. So when you talk about missing that many key pieces, and then also the biggest position in football, quarterback, Trevor Lawrence was battling through it. And for me, the biggest part of Trevor Lawrence's injuries were not him putting himself in harm's way. It was more about him running for his life because of that offensive line. And again, that goes back to coaching and management. And Trevor Lawrence was battling through the MCL, the shoulder sprain, the sprained ankle, concussion protocol. I mean, he was going through it all. There's probably little things we don't even know about necessarily. That's how it goes with players throughout the year, generally speaking. So, yeah, you've got to have more injury luck. I mean, you do. You got to have your best players being able to play at a high level. There's no doubt about that. But I got news for you. Trent Balke, not going anywhere. A lot of people were hopeful. Maybe that was a retirement press conference last week. Heck, I was hopeful. Didn't think it was going to happen, but I was hopeful. It was not. Trent Balke said he's not going anywhere. He's not retiring anytime soon. He's 59 years old, soon to be 60. He doesn't see it happening. He doesn't see retirement happening anytime soon. And now maybe he gets forced out the door if the Jaguars have another bad season. I seriously doubt, though, with Trent Balke at general manager, that they can win a title. Like, you have to have more cohesion from the top down. When you have someone at the top that coaches don't agree with, that coaches don't really like, that you haven't heard any Jaguars players come out and say that they're not fans of Trent Balke, but you have seen it in the past from players that were on the 49ers while he was there. And obviously you've heard myriad stories about him not cultivating relationships. Again, burning bridges versus cultivating relationships. And it looks like that might be happening right now before our very eyes with the Josh Allen contract situation. Goes out there and says Josh Allen will be a Jaguar, then proceeds to tell you, and I have no idea why he said this, but tells you they have not started negotiating. Josh Allen's camp agency, whatever, comes out the very next day, says, hey, we're willing and ready. We're waiting. Let's negotiate. Let's get this done. Nah. Trent Balke's like, oh, we'll get it done later. And in all likelihood, that's going to be a franchise tag. A franchise tag is not going to be what Josh Allen wants. He wants to get a long-term deal done, long-term financial security, and I don't blame him. And if they place the franchise tag on him and they can't get a deal done and the franchise tag is going into the summer, I wouldn't expect to see Josh Allen, quite frankly. So, yeah, Trent Balke, I do not think that the Jaguars can win a championship with Trent Balke as general manager. They can be a playoff team. They would have been a playoff team this year if they had, again, a little bit more injury luck. And there were teams in the playoffs that overcame bad injury luck, but not teams that advanced to the championship round. That's my point again about injury luck. Like, you can overcome injuries if you're a roster that's better put together, better equipped to handle those things. But I don't think you can overcome injuries and make it to the Super Bowl. But again, I think they can be a playoff team with Trent Balke. I think they can win a playoff game with Trent Balke. We've seen that. I don't think they can win it all. I don't think they can make it to the AFC title with him as GM unless Trevor Lawrence just says, buckle up, guys, get on my back. Let's go for a ride. I really don't. I don't see it happening outside of that. And I do think it's possible for Trevor Lawrence to do that. We've seen him do that. I mean, he did that in 2022. He was playing unbelievable football for the Jaguars down the stretch and just kind of put the team on his back and said, let's go. And so, yeah, I think that Trevor Lawrence can do that for you. Can he do that for you to the point where he's overcoming Patrick Mahomes and this Chiefs defense, or Lamar Jackson, or Josh Allen, or the San Francisco 49ers if you make it all the way to the Super Bowl? Teams like that, that's where it gets tough because you have to do it so many games in a row. and you just don't really have the support around you necessarily. We'll see how it plays out. I'm hopeful. I'm rooting for Trent Balke to get the job done this offseason. But again, I just don't really see it happening. Even if he does put a better roster together, a roster that's more cohesive and makes more sense, I still don't think that connection, that cohesion is there from the general manager position down to the head coach, down to the staff, down to the players. I don't think it will be there with Trent Balke in the position that he is currently in. But really appreciate y'all tuning in. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. You can hit me up on Twitter at Jordan DeLugo. If you enjoy the content, please like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. You can also check out ginjag.com/shop, pick up some new Duval gear. Y'all have a good one.